Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Over what's going on in the Middle East,
Mm,
but happy that the season is moving towards a starting point. It's a nice distraction from everything.
yep, we are getting closer. Yes, the tragedy going on in the Middle East, and so as human beings, we cannot escape the devastation that is happening in that region of the world. Thankfully for us, David, we do have basketball as a respite for us to something enjoyable to talk about. Although I am not going to start this show off in an enjoyable mood because the NBA is annoying the shit out of me again. So an article came out where the NBA basically says load management is no longer supported by scientific data. Joe Dumars, who is the executive vice president of basketball operations of the league, had some comments, and he said, before it was a given conclusion that the data showed that you had to rest players a certain amount, and that justified them sitting out. We've gotten more data, and it just doesn't show that sitting guys out correlates with lack of injuries or fatigue or anything like that. What it does show is maybe guys aren't as efficient on the second night of a back-to-back. Obviously, everybody's not going to play 82 games, but everyone should want to play 82 games. And that's the culture that we're trying to establish right now. And David, I saw those quotes, that article. I put it in our True Hoop WhatsApp chat. I told you before we started the show today, like my blood is boiling and seething with this. The league is so disingenuous about this whole thing, and it's really annoying. First of all, I would love to know who are the scientists and data and sports medicine people that are looking over your data. Please show us and make them available so we can ask questions as media members. What are you basing that on? What's your population sample size? What other sample sets are you looking at? I'd love to get into the nitty gritty on that. And the other thing, a big elephant in the room, and it's clearly obvious, and Evan Wash made a point of that. He's another executive with the NBA, head of their analytics, said, "Look, it's no secret that they're negotiating a new TV deal, right? And so the NBA is trying to convince NBC and whoever to fork over $10 billion, right, over the next 7 years or however long the deal's going to last. And so in order for them to do that, the best players have to play all the time. At least that's what the NBA thinks. And so we know where this is motivated from, but it's so disingenuous, and it's such a lightning rod of a topic that fuel fans' ire, and fans matter in this case, and they're just being given such bullshit and one side of a story.
You know, if I assert an opinion on an article I write for True Hoop, I'm allowed to do so. It's vetted by two editors.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, I still can do that. If I am asserting something that's supposedly science or, in fact, data, not an opinion, I'm supposed to link it. I don't link everything. But if there's anything even remotely controversial or maybe historical, so people may have forgotten, I'm supposed to link it. And it doesn't mean I always do. My editors often do. But it allows our readers to see where I'm getting my information from. Pretty simple,
Mm-hmm.
right? Footnotes were a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You and I were probably growing up.
Yep.
All right. And so you're fair to ask the question. All right, you're NBA. You're allowed to have your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That science no longer supports the idea that resting is a good thing, which
Mm-hmm.
is just on the face of it seems so odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to tell us where your data is. You need to get quotes from the data scientists from teams, because
Mm-hmm.
teams have their own guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder what Catapult thinks about this.
Mm-hmm.
Catapult, the ones who, as I understand it, the Spurs had a 10-year relationship with that no one was allowed to know about.
Mm-hmm.
They had a 10-year head start. But I do know, so we don't, that's murky. That relationship's murky. What isn't murky was Tim Duncan and Ginobili, those guys sitting out of nationally televised games, and the Spurs taking the fine and getting 5 rings also,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That isn't, well, not 5, it was 4, I think, after they did a deal with Catapult. Maybe 3 even. Still, they were very good for a long time. I'd like to hear what they have to say about it. I'd like to hear what Dr. Marcus Elliott has to say about it. Our friend Henry Abbott is not available at this moment to write about it.
Mm-hmm.
I basically put our friendship on hold until he does write about it. Not really, obviously, but Like until he chimes in,
Right.
you and I are just true amateurs. And we're less amateurs than the average person.
Right.
But compared to Henry, we are. And so my skeptical, cynical David Thorpe personality, because Coach Thorpe is not so cynical. David Thorpe is. This is just going to sound like something you would say. We are now in a position as a league where money trumps all. And that has not always been the case.
Mm-hmm.
Money was very important. But when you're doing, I think I told you this maybe on Monday. I had a player that I talked to a lot that was in Abu Dhabi.
Mm-hmm.
He could not WhatsApp me.
Right.
Because they don't let WhatsApp happen on
Mm-hmm.
WhatsApp, right? Well, we're in business with those kind of countries now.
Mm-hmm.
We're in business with those kind of countries. We're in business with dark money in a sense,
Yep.
right? And so those kinds of people and entities definitely don't care about science.
Mm-hmm.
They just care about the green.
Mm-hmm.
And so the concern that I have is with my athletes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our athletes in the league. Who's vouching for them? If I'm the union, I'm hoping they craft an incredibly detailed, footnoted, linked report
Mm-hmm.
refuting what the NBA said,
Mm-hmm.
and then stating we're not done with this.
Right. Right.
We are just getting started. You have declared war on our players' bodies. We are playing defense now.
Yeah.
And I like the NBA. We're all rooting for the NBA. I want the commissioner's office to be someone we can trust. I don't have that trust right now that they're telling us the truth. And it's a real concern because we're going to see a situation, Jarod, and it's not fair to say it's definitely because of this, but it's going to be blamed whether it's accurate or not. A star player is going to get hurt in a game he wasn't supposed to play.
Yep.
And he's gonna say something publicly.
Yep.
And then you and I can talk about it on the next show,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole world that covers the NBA is gonna go crazy about it.
No, you're 100% right, David. Again, I understand the idea that fans want to see the best players play. Like I get that. So do David and I. Of course we want to see that.
Why wouldn't?
Right. But we have to understand that this idea of these guys just being able to roll out and play 82 games it's insanity plus playoffs. Like, again, the goal is not to have no injuries. That is impossible. Injuries are going to be baked into the game because it's physical and contact. Our goal is to deliver the most amount of healthy bodies to the postseason as possible. And we cannot do it in its current structure. That is already proven. That is a factual statement. We already know this, right? At the end of these guys are worn out. In that same article, Dumars said that, fans would also like to see a competitive All-Star game. And I'm going to be like, Joe, like the All-Star game is at the 2/3 mark of the season. These dudes are dead. And you're like, you want them to go hard in an exhibition game? Like, come on, man. Like, and let's be honest. Were you going hard when you played at the All-Star game in the 80s, Dumars? I don't think so. Right? Like, it's just, and we romanticize, or fans romanticize, right? The era of the 80s. Those guys all play 82 games. I'm like, guys, our memories do that to us, right? Our memories lie to us all the time about what was actually happening. Go on YouTube, because these games exist, or on NBA Classic or whatever, and find them. Look at those games. Look at those regular season games and tell me how hard everybody's going. Now, you may say those guys played more and played all the games. Fine. All very true. And this is I reference this all the time. Look how Kevin McHale walks around right now. Look how Patrick Ewing walks around right now. Look at how all those guys from that era move when they're just walking, not doing anything crazy, just walking up and down. How that looks. Not great, right? There's a toll and a price you pay.
But everything you said is accurate, but that's just a sliver. It's more than a sliver. It's a piece of the overall pie. Those players didn't play year-round the way these players did. That's not to say Larry Bird didn't play year-round, but it wasn't the way these guys do it now, where every weekend they're playing 5, 6, 7, 8 games in AAU events. Because AAU tends to have a lot more just play instead of developing.
Right.
There's also, and you can blame me for this in part, the skills trainers who, on the days where they're not practicing, they're doing skill development. And it's all year round. Everyone even acknowledges basketball is a year round sport now. And then you factor in the way the game is played. It's not just necessarily faster, which it is. I think the data is
Yes, data shows that.
incontrovertible, but the amount of space you have.
Correct.
We have two guys that just played the other night. We're going to talk about it here. That both basically look like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and they take threes and they dribble the ball a bunch, and they have to guard people who are doing those kinds of things. Wemby had a number of race outs. He was guarding the perimeter, contesting, and then racing out the court. That's not how the game was played then. You weren't chasing. I was talking to a player literally last night who's he's on a team they're changing the way they're playing defensively, and he's going to be asked a lot of times to help both in the paint and then close out on the corner shooter. Man, that's a lot of ground to cover. And I watched him on preseason, and he can do it. He's tall and long, but it's hard. It's a lot of work. That just didn't happen back then. So all those things combined to create a situation that's now a perfect storm with the league basically walking away from their responsibility of protecting our athletes. And if we want to wave a magic wand, Jarod, and say, okay, how could things be different without changing the schedule? Well, one way would be invest even more, not just into the development of our younger players, but in that marketing. Have a group of TNT, if not the same guys that do it now, whose job it is to understand who all the players are. You're going to ask me later about Zaire Williams. I know who Zaire Williams is. I liked him as a top 8 player in the draft. I've been watching synergy tape on him. Memphis is one of the better teams. They need a small forward. I don't think any of those dudes in TNT know who that is.
No.
And so if we start celebrating more of our role players who have the potential to be very good, let's face it, a lot of our stars now were once role players. Not all of them, obviously, or they were well known in college, but they weren't great NBA players until they became great players, right? So we could do that, and now the fan isn't feeling so shortchanged when he gets to go watch someone else play instead of the guy he thought was the best player for his team. None of those things are happening.
Correct.
And so we have the perfect storm against our guys, and I'm worried about a situation where the people who are running the league only care about the bottom line at the expense of our players. That's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you 100%, David, and that's ultimately what it is, right? The money, unfortunately, does trump all in this case, and that's really what this is all about, right? The league is trying to secure its next broadcast rights deal, and, with ratings that are where they are, people who make those decisions saying, I'm not going to give you billions of dollars if you can't guarantee me that LeBron and Steph and KD and all these guys play all the national television, right? That's what they want, because then I can sell my advertising down, all the reasons, right? All the reasons why they want to do that, at the expense of course, the health of these players. But we shall see where this goes. But I think you're right, David. Like, this is going to go somewhere we don't want it to go, and it's going to be very unfortunate. All right, some positive news, David. The internet was in a tizzy on Monday night. We had the Oklahoma City's and Thunder and San Antonio Spurs playing a preseason game. And it was the preseason debuts for Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama. And well, everyone who listens to this show knows 7-footers doing all kinds of fun things on a basketball court is like a fever dream for me. I love it. Make the game full of nothing but 7-footers who can do everything. That's what I love, as everybody knows. It was super exciting. David's like, no, boo. For me, and I don't want to get carried away because it's just preseason, nothing to lose your mind about, but it is breathtaking, David, to see the skill set that people are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's size have and what they're able to do, because that's not normal. People that big shouldn't be allowed to move their bodies in the way that they move. And it's just from that standpoint alone, it is beautiful and breathtaking to watch.
I have a few things to say while I'm talking. If you want to look up Bill Russell's career field goal percentage, or even his first 10 years, my memory has it at 41%. There is a real possibility that both of those guys are going to have a season in their careers where they shoot better than 41% from three.
Yeah. So Bill Russell for his career, David, 44% from the field for his career.
For the 44. Yeah. So they probably won't get quite that high, but this is just another level.
No. You're right. No, they'll shoot over his career field goal, not 3-point. Bill Russell, 44%. they'll shoot well
Yeah.
over 44%
Oh,
for their field
for
goal.
sure. I
Yeah.
meant from
Oh,
three.
from three,
They,
41.
they're, they're going to do. If they get 41, they're doing really well. And Wemby especially is going to take tougher ones, at least for right now. He's shooting. Remember, I wrote an article about Duncan Robinson playing like Duncan. Well, the Spurs are playing like everything. That's one of the things they're doing. They ran him off a little wide
Mm-hmm.
pin. He made the three, took a dribble, side
Mm-hmm.
dribble, made it. They little wasn't really Spain action, but it was like middle of the court. He was screening and setting, then back screen, and boom, he lifted up, made a three. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those aren't the easiest shots to make,
No.
but what the first thing is, I just had no idea. You know, I never. I tell people all the time, this is a job. I don't even think about that kind of stuff typically, anyway. Especially for a preseason
Right.
game. I wanted to watch the Spurs play the Thunder. I put it on. I watched the game. I watched it on tape again this morning. I on Synergy, and I'm off Twitter now, so I'm done with Twitter pretty much forever. And I'm on Threads a little bit. We'll see where we all go as a
Yeah.
company. But I did not know any of this. Meanwhile, there's a lot of other good players.
Oh,
Both
for sure.
teams have
Yes.
a lot of good
Yes.
young players. These teams are going to be battling for a while,
Yeah.
and I like this scrawny versus scrawny battle. Yeah, like it's going to happen. Like Victor Wembanyama got he put his head into
Chet's like chin.
face.
Yep.
Yeah,
Knocked him down and flexed on him.
and then did the flex. And I laughed, thinking, "Dude, what are you flexing? You're the before picture of a Charles Alice commercial."
Wait, David.
And then Chet did the same thing.
Wait, on Twitter yesterday or the day before, Chet goes, "Yep, the headbutt move, undefeated in the NBA." It's just like
There's a little rivalry there.
Yeah,
there's a little rivalry there
for sure.
because Wemby's kicked his ass before, and I do not think he kicked his ass this time. They didn't play against each other. Chet darted Wemby, not the other way around. But when Chet did his powerful guy, and I have no muscles, but I have more muscles than those guys. They're also literally more than a foot taller than me, or a foot or more. Nonetheless, if we evaluate what we see, my son, who is no dummy when it comes to basketball, now I'm proud to say, asked me via text message, is he going to be the greatest of all time?
Who, Chet or Wemby? Wemby.
No, Wemby. Yeah, I can't. I didn't write.
Right.
No. I don't know. Like it's within the realm of possibility. This guy has the best career. It's unfair. In a sense, he's so tall. There was one play where I told you where he lifted to shoot the three at the top of the key, and I think it was guard Jalen Williams, who's not short and he's not short armed. He had to really jump to even think about contesting, which is going to cause all sorts of other problems when Wemby starts faking and drawing fouls on that. He still couldn't come close to contesting him. His ability to dribble the ball. Meanwhile, his first ever preseason bucket was what? Do you remember?
A putback dunk. Yep.
Not quite a dunk, kind of dunk.
At the free throw line, right? He jumped over the guy on the inside position and then tipped it back in.
He made a couple of putbacks in the game. One was from farther on the other. The other was right at the rim. We can't forget that part of his game. He's got a little post-up game. He's going to have a better one. He brings the ball up in the court in transition. I don't think he should. I do think that there's a limit to what he should be doing this year. Maybe there will be. He can always add that later, which I suspect he will.
He leaks out, which I like too.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I have not talked to him in the Spurs, but my guess is that's the strategy that they've discussed is we're going to clean up the glass without you. They've got some guys that can rebound. And so if you're on the perimeter, just fly, because what's going to happen is even though the Spurs threw a couple of bad passes, they short-armed him. You got to overthrow this guy. Yeah, the guards, you might hit the backboard once in a while. Mostly he's going to catch it. He can jump so high. It takes the guard and wing out of the play. They can't do anything about it. It's like throwing to a tight end against a 4'5" cornerback. Tight end's going to win every time. I mean, he's not much taller than these guys. So I think that's going to force opponents to get their big guys back earlier, which means they can't go to the offensive boards. It's a nice little strategy that I think they're going to play with. But on the other hand, Chet is a competitor, and everyone I've talked to has always said that about him. They've said he's a good shooter, no matter what he's done in the preseason, whatever, and in summer league, and he's a competitor. And he was, and he is. I mean, he got nailed in the chin and still competed. Not afraid of Wemby at all. And I think he's easier to guard, but Jack Collins didn't think so. He had no clue how to guard him. You can't foul Chet on his spin move. You got to force him to try to finish. I'm not sure he can. But this is the worst Chet's going to be for 15 years. The worst. So he's going 21 and
Yeah.
played pretty darn well.
Mm-hmm. Hit
Yeah,
threes, all that.
OKC. Yeah, yeah, made a nice three too on the right wing. In transition, these two teams are going to be standing tallest as the Lakers kind of age out and the Clippers
Suns,
kind
age
of age
out.
out
Mm-hmm.
and the Warriors
Mm-hmm.
and the Suns. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have Memphis, who won't. Denver should be right
Mm-hmm.
there. And here's San Antonio and Oklahoma City. Won't be this year necessarily,
Right.
but it's coming very soon.
No, I mean it was great watching those two young guys again, because I always have you on my shoulder when I'm watching games, and that's exactly what I thought. This is the worst they're going to be at basketball right now.
Yeah,
and
like by far,
right.
Their learning curve is going to be enormous, and their bodies are going to get so much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
They're still very skinny, both of them.
Yeah,
they're very skinny, and they're too skilled for their own good. So they're going to learn how to limit some things because they're just not good enough. I mean, Wemby had 4 turnovers. 2 were terrible dribbles. 2 are really atrocious passes.
Mm-hmm.
All correctable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and they're going to get much better blocking shots than they did in this game. Both of them are going to have like 7, 8 blocks in a game. Victor's going to average a good amount, I think. The game's a little fast for him now. The physicalness is there defensively, but offensively, he's spectacular.
Yeah,
he's just great.
There was a play that Wemby made that I said, this is the beauty of being 7'3" or 4" or whatever with that ridiculous wingspan. He's at the top of the key, and a Thunder player is on the right wing, right? So to the right of him, dribbling into the lane. But because Wemby's arms are so long, he digs down at his dribble and causes them to lose it. The Spurs get the turnover. He races out. I'm like, dude, like, again, because it's all about space in the NBA, right? And like, but his wingspan, that negates space for people, right? So you're driving, you're like, oh, no one's gonna be able to reach me when I drive. Well, that guy might, because I don't even know what his wingspan is, probably 7'5", 7'6". So if he can just
it's like 8 feet.
Oh, Jesus.
It's really crazy.
Even crazier. So he just sticks his mid out. He can dig down on the ball, cause you to fumble. Here we go. Turnover. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really nuts. It might be like +6 or so. Maybe not 8 foot. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 7'10" or something huge. But
it's ridiculous.
You'll remember this. The first defensive player people remember game planning for in the NFL in my lifetime was Lawrence Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And what a disruptive force it is when you mentioned guys in game film, but you really had to build an offensive system for Lawrence Taylor, or you were really screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Deion Sanders, you didn't build your own system for it as much as you just avoided.
Right. Don't throw the best out of the field.
Yeah, it's just not worth it because you're going to get some points, but so are they. So that doesn't make sense. You're going to have to game plan for Wemby defensively. You are. Forget about offensively. That's a given. That's why our sport is different. We play both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Although Deion did too. You're going to have to game plan for him defensively. And that also includes, how do I exploit him? How can I make him try to cover ground in space? How can we maybe get him to foul? How can we maybe entice him to reach in like you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
How can we take advantage of him leaking out? We may double down and say, fuck it. We're going to have to go to the offensive boards and make them pay. Like there's going to be a tug of war here to see which works. Mm-hmm. More offensive rebound help, less offensive rebound help because of what he can do. He's just going to be, And Chet's Phil Mickelson to Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
It's unfair.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's Phil Mickelson personality wise. He's going to be the best. He's got a chance to be that good of a player and not even come close to Wemby.
Yeah.
That's how good Wemby is. And Chet's going to have to fight like crazy for that, but also accept the reality of it and take heart in winning. I think Bill Russell knew Wilt Chamberlain was better.
Right, but I win.
Mm-hmm. But I think because of when he played,
mm-hmm.
I really believe that Bill Russell was on the Lakers and Wilt was on the Celtics.
Oh.
Then the Celtics would have won every championship.
Of course.
I don't think Bill. I know the Celtics fans will have you think, was there a magic juice that turned Bill Russell into that?
Right.
And Bill Russell's this incredible player, which he was, but Will would have won every time for those guys. Yeah.
Correct.
I think he would have been coachable just fine. So, I think that the good news is the internet's going to get a lot of this going forward, and it's going to be in the playoffs. Just like I thought one day we would see Ja versus Zion versus Luka.
Mm-hmm.
Like those three are going to be in a lot of Western Conference Finals. But now here come these two guys having their say. Yeah, it's going to be that we're going to see a great games ride in the near future, 4
Awesome.
years, 5 years, where um, Steph Curry's going to be on the front row, LeBron James going to be in the front row in street clothes,
Yeah, well, yeah.
because I'm going to go watch Wemby versus Chet,
Well, they're
man.
going to be 40 years old by then. So what the,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Well,
like,
yeah, LeBron be like 43.
yeah, LeBron will be way
Yeah,
older.
but it's going to be that kind of made for a TV event where
Yeah.
the celebrities can be right there to watch, because they're really fun players to
The
watch.
future of the league, man. I can't wait. 7-footers doing it all. Do you think that the rookie of the year race you think Chet will have something to say about that?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a great question to ask. And I know a lot of people think Chet can win.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wemby's going to put up just ridiculous numbers. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's I mean, if he shoots poorly,
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't have a lot of spacing around him, guys shooting well, and he's
Mm-hmm.
guarded easier from there. Yeah, I mean, I think Chet's got a possibility. I don't know that there's another rookie that Brandon Miller is so far away right now.
Yeah. Scoot far
That
away
doesn't mean
too.
he can't be good. Who?
Scoot far away too.
No, I don't know. I didn't watch him play the team from Australia.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I try not to watch those games. I caught one, and I'll catch another one this weekend. But I try not. I mean, nothing against the NBL, but
Scoot will play tonight when Portland plays Phoenix, and I think
nice.
Phoenix's big three are playing tonight. I think they're going to play.
Okay.
They didn't play last game, so might get to see Scoot against those guys. See how he looks.
I think you're right. I think Scoot is right there. Like, I just think Wemmy's going to put up more.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
And Devin Vassell, even though he'll be a primary ball handler for them this year, isn't a chucker.
Right.
And the Spurs aren't going to play that kind of basketball. So I think he's not going to be iced out at all by his own guy.
Well, that leads us perfectly, David, into your article that came out yesterday on TrueHoop.com. Everybody should be subscribed to that. It was assessing the West. I was looking at the Thunder, the Mavericks, the Pelicans, Wolves, Jazz, Blazers, Rockets, and Spurs. So let's stay on the Thunder while we're here. We've long talked about that they have all the pieces in place to make a move to be competitive this year because of all the draft capital they have and the really good young talent, and to already go with, I mean, guys, they have, by the awards, they have a top 5 player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He made All-NBA first team last year. So you have a floor raiser of a guy that good. We already talked about Chet. We know how much we love both Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort. They've got so many good, Isaiah Joe, so many good players on the team, but they're missing just that other star player to go along with SGA. And who can they potentially trade? I mean, they have every possible thing to get somebody. What do they do it? I don't know. I think, David, we've been talking about it. I think it would be good for them to consider it, only from the standpoint of they're not going to be able to pay everybody at some point, right? And that's what's going to happen. When you keep having 75 draft picks every year, I'm exaggerating, not that many, everyone's on the same timeline. Well, that means everyone can't get time to develop because only 5 guys can play on the court at a time, right? You're starting to get a backlog, and you're getting guys who have similar skill sets, and you're like, okay, well, which one's better? I don't know. And so we are good enough with an SGA and as a guy who you're saying, he may start saying, guys, this is all great. I love the young people, but I'm really good right now. I'm all NBA first team. I'm an MVP candidate. I want to try to go to the playoffs and win. Who do we move to get that wing or another big? Sacrilegious. Don't get mad at me, OKC fans. I don't think they will, but they said they moved Chet and they decided to get a better big. I don't know.
I will. They could possibly trade him for Giannis a couple weeks ago before they got Dame.
Right.
And so we've been saying this now for 2 seasons. When is Shai going to say what you're saying? And I heard someone say the other day that they think the Thunder are a year away from being a serious team. And so I try telling that to Shai.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point he's not going to be so young.
Right.
And this is his prime. So I still wonder, might they shock the world and trade him to a team like that for the Lakers? I'm sorry,
Clippers.
not for the Clippers.
Oh.
If they don't, I think they'll get a Harden deal done pretty soon. But if they didn't, him going back there, that'd be pretty damn good.
Supercharge the Clippers. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm not sure they have enough at what Sam Presti would want, and I'm not suggesting it will happen. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Williams is moving towards a guy that we think could be a high level max player.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Chet. You already have Shai doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Giddey's going to command $20 million or more. You can't pay everybody. You
Correct.
just can't. And so what are you doing? I don't know. The way the league is now, we haven't talked about this. Our friend Kevin Pelton did his I'll do mine probably next week or maybe 2 weeks. I haven't looked at it. Right before the
Hmm.
season starts, I'll do my
Win
prediction.
projections.
I don't know if I made better than Kevin, that's for sure. It's all so bunched together. You know, everyone in their 40s for the most part. Um, and so that's parity. And I think this is exactly what the league wants with the way that the salary cap is
Hmm.
built in.
Hmm.
Uh, it's just so expensive to keep your teams together. I mean, I'm already hearing now Jalen Brown to Atlanta. Not this year, not this year, but if they want to extend Drew, they got Porzingis, they
Right.
got Tatum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something has to give.
Correct.
This is the new reality of it. Is we're going to have a star or two on every team ultimately, and now how well do those guys mesh with your role players? How well do you develop your own role players so that they're being paid X, but they're worth 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times X?
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. You got a guy making 2 million a year, and you get him playing worth 20 million a year, like the Warriors did with Jordan Poole.
Hmm.
They won a championship.
Hmm.
The next year, he didn't play like that. They did not win a championship.
Correct.
That's a major part of what we need to do for teams. So I mean, OKC is going to be in that dilemma, but not yet. They've got some time on Giddy. They've
Right.
got some. Chet's got 2 more years for his extension to even kick in. 2 more, 3 years really.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I just wonder what they're going to do because I think they're going to be good, but the West is loaded. Not
Loaded.
loaded, just a lot of similar teams.
Yeah.
Right. It's more fair to say there's no Warriors dynasty team.
Right.
There's just a bunch of good teams and not a lot of bad teams.
Yeah.
Almost. I mean, Portland, just Portland,
I think you're right.
right?
Yeah. Portland,
Houston's gonna be okay.
Houston will be okay. Yeah. I think you're dead on. San Antonio's going to be okay. Right. Like I think they'll.
Right. I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe not win more than 30 games, but they could win 30, and
Hmm.
30 gets to 35 pretty easily, and you're not bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Sticking with teams again that you looked at, the Pelicans, so much of this is just about Zion, right? Who we'll talk about in a little bit here when we talk about
Yeah.
players in the preseason. Griffin said some interesting things about Zion at Media Day in that this is essentially the first season that he took being a professional serious. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said, right? And it's like, oh, well, 5 years in, finally. Okay, well, guess that's good news, I guess. Wish it would have happened sooner.
Come in very young.
I mean, that's the thing. You're 19 years old. I mean,
and well paid. See, my kids are 22, but they're broke. It's my money. Now they do. Each of them have a savings account. They don't touch it. That isn't small. They've done a good job, but for all intents and purposes, they're broke.
yeah.
These guys in the NBA
No.
are not broke. So
And-
it's just a different situation.
And David, I just feel like, people, it's so easy for people to look at young kids when they come into the NBA and say, oh, you guys got to do this, X, Y, and Z. Like, do you remember yourself at 19? I was a fucking moron. Like,
Yeah.
and I had great parents. You gave me millions of dollars. I would have acted all kinds of stupid. Like,
They're so much more professional than the average human would be in the same situation.
Right.
And it's not just money. It's fame.
yes.
It's fame. It's also physical attractiveness,
Mhm.
tall dudes,
Mhm.
fit guys.
Mhm.
And they get to be more. I wasn't worldly at 19, 20. These guys, some of them understand fine wine. They can't even drink it legally. Right? They've seen 5-star hotels. I never saw
Right.
a 5-star hotel till I was probably late 30s, early 40s, if I remember right. It's a different vibe. And they do amazing, but they're not perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, some of them don't come from money.
Mhm.
They don't come from privilege.
Mhm.
And so it's really, really new for them. I remind you of that great article Sports Illustrated did decades ago
Mhm.
with Kwame Brown
Mhm.
when he called his agent and said, I need a new suit for the road trip, need new suits. And they said, what are you talking about? We bought you 5. He's like, I know, but I need new ones for the road trip. And do you remember this story? And they said,
Mhm.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why do you need more? Where are your suits? He's like, they're sitting next to my bed. He had no idea how to dry clean anything. And he was losing weight
Mhm.
because he was used to eating grits and biscuits and
Right.
whatever he ate in
Right.
Georgia.
Right.
And I'm sure DC had all those things.
Right.
This was before the internet. He didn't know how to find them.
Right. Right.
And no one was helping him, not his agents and not his team.
Right.
And which is why in some cases young players come out with their moms
Mhm.
or a brother.
Mhm.
I have a young player I help whose brother lives with them,
Mhm.
who's older. This kid's young. He's just turning 21, and it's smart because they just don't know.
Mhm.
They just don't know what's going on. So I'm glad to hear Zion's finally figured it out. The league shouldn't be happy to hear that. I mean, the league is happy. The opponent, 39
Correct.
teams don't want to hear it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because if this kid's healthy, guys, they were number 1 seed last year at Christmas. Like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so this seemed to be very good. Look,
he is. Well, we'll get to Zion. I don't think you want to get to him.
No, they need BI to be healthy. They got to figure out their lead ball handler situation. As you mentioned, Alvarado I think is much better coming off the bench, being a pest as opposed to your primary playmaker. That's not really what CJ does. Yeah. So they got to figure some stuff out there. And then the Trey Murphy injury, me out 10 to 12 weeks. That's gonna hurt them.
Yeah, Najee Marshall is really important for them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to fill that role. And Willie Green. Mm-hmm. I didn't really write about it much. I don't want to do an experiment on a whole expose on the coaches, but Willie is a very interesting story of a guy that some people don't think is like Chauncey Billups was this brainiac player. Mm-hmm. Willie Green wasn't seen as this brilliant strategist, X and O guy, like a lot of former players aren't. He was seen as an amazing culture builder, player connector. There's huge value. Maybe more in that than the other. Mm-hmm. There's not many that can do both really well. But nonetheless, they've been underachieving. Zion, no Zion.
Right.
This is big year. He may not finish the year this year. He may not.
No, you're right.
He's going to have to win some games, and so there's pressure there, which could be great. Could work out fine.
And Herb Jones, right? We know he's great defensively. Can he learn to shoot? Right? Can that be a thing? That's huge.
Yeah. Dyson Daniels is
huge. So New Orleans will be interesting to watch. All right, guys, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. Okay, David. Again, I encourage everybody to go and read your excellent article about the rest of the West. David also talks about Luka Doncic as an MVP. Luka's fit. He played FIBA World Cup. He's looking good already. He didn't play a ton in the Real Madrid game because he's, they want to kind of manage him, get a little bit of a nagging something. But this guy's a great player. Oh, speaking of Real Madrid, David, did you hear the NBA wants to play a game at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium where Real Madrid football team plays their games at some point in the future? The new Bernabeu's gotten renovated. As a Real Madrid football fan as I am, I know all about it. The way that grass elevates, it houses 82,000 people. That would be fun. An outdoor game at that stadium with, if we can get 80,000 people, that would be super fun. So, and the NBA is always trying to grow the game. So, and Spain loves basketball. So let's put it this way. True Hoops going on the road if we're doing that game.
You're volunteering.
Correct. I am volunteering to go to Madrid.
As we speak, Jarod, I just got a text that I'm under a tornado warning now, which is not hurricane, but tornado warning. I don't. It says my area, but I live in a big area. So I don't hear anything. It's not windy out here. Well, if you see me taking off, it means I hear like a freight train. I've got a perfect closet right here I'll be running into.
Well, hopefully David will not be taking off. It will be good. We saw some preseason games, David, with almost every team I think has played at least one game by now. So we've seen a lot of action.
Yeah.
Zion, we talked about the Pelicans. It's weird. I always have this trepidation feeling whenever I see him on the court because I'm like, oh God, just don't get hurt. Right. And it's so sad that that's where we're at. But I'm just like, oh, please, just don't slip on a banana peel. Don't I don't want anything to happen. I think it's important though that they get some reps with him and these guys because he hasn't played with them a ton. So it's important that they get a little bit of something going before the regular season.
I mean, I do think there's something to be said for every team about getting a feel for things. If a player's been out with injury in the past or new players in, like the Celtics with Drew last night. I do think there's just you're better off in game 20 than you are in game 2. And so preseasons matter for that, even though some teams aren't using it the same as others. We've seen a lot of stars sit games. But I do think it matters. And I think for the players that have been out for a little bit, the timing does make a difference. I'm a big believer in repping at game speed. I just talked to a player this morning. I just left a voice message for a player this morning telling him he's got to do a better job of getting in his reps in practice, imagining that he is in a real game. And that's finding those feelings, that stress that you feel, that pressure that you feel, try to manufacture that with every rep you take in practice. And preseason games don't mean anything typically, but it is something that you can at least try to rep as best you can. And someone's closing you out, they might have a little hand up or whatever. And so it can help get your timing kind of grease the rails a little bit get you moving better for the regular season in a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I caught Zion, played a little bit in that Orlando Magic game.
Yeah, I watched that tape. Yeah.
Zion defensively, are we gonna give effort on that end of the floor this season? I saw
Not in preseason.
I mean, and the thing is, I don't know that I've seen him give a ton of great effort in the regular season because it's been such a limited tape.
He's had moments. It's a fair question to ask. Willie Green will not be there long if they don't get him defending at least a little bit. They need him to. It's not like they're loaded with great defensive players. So, yeah, Dyson Daniels has a chance to be great, but he's not. He's in year 2. It might still be a teenager, maybe just turned 20. So no, they need Zion to play and play with effort on that end.
I didn't have him on the rundown, but so in that game, did you see Paolo go at Zion a few times scoring on him? I was like, oh, look at.
Did not. I saw Paolo's numbers. I saw Zion's game. Yeah. I think he loves that stuff.
Little Duke on Duke, brotherhood rivalry. Why not do the thing?
Speaking of Paolo, I heard Jamal Crawford and Channing Frye were asked on NBA TV. I was up late or maybe early one morning this week, and they wanted player comparisons. Channing Frye said, "Oh my God, I'm so Joe Johnson," and I thought, "Oh my God, Channing Frye has never seen this guy play before."
Yeah.
Like, how was Paolo like Joe Johnson?
No, not at
Joe
all.
Johnson was one of the greatest shooters I ever saw.
Yeah.
Paolo can't shoot at all.
No.
I thought Jamal Crawford's was great, and I think I made this a similar one. I phrased it differently, but he said a less athletic Blake Griffin.
Ooh.
I think Jamal Crawford's fucking smart. I think I've said the exact same thing without saying less athletic.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Paolo's pretty damn athletic. I mean, and he's also really tall.
I mean, Blake could jump over a car for crying out loud.
Yeah. I thought, I'm just telling you, for NBA owners out there that want to hire a former player in the front office, Jamal Crawford's got some talent. Yeah, I don't want the job. But if he's thinking like I'm thinking, he's smart. So I thought, I like JC a lot for that.
Yeah, no, he's,
But Blake also really dominated the paint.
He did.
And I don't know that Paolo is in that mode. I think he's more of a, Blake also was an amazing passer. Underrated passer because you were overwhelmed by the dunks and the athleticism, the brute force. Paolo needs to do more of that, Blake, I think, and his team will be much better if he plays that way.
Yeah, no, I think so. Zaire Williams is another player that piqued my interest in the preseason, mainly because I want to know who's the Grizzlies starting small forward going to be. That's a space they need someone to play.
Yeah.
Santi Aldama's done some stuff. Played there last year. There's no Dylan Brooks, obviously, so there's a hole there, right? And I don't think you're gonna go Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, and John Morant. That's just too small across the front three. Like you're gonna.
You got Roddy, you got Laravia, who are going to compete for the same thing that Zaire is competing for. Yeah.
And Zaire, he first of all, he looks like he put on some muscle. He's not. I'm like, whoa, you put some.
He was really skinny.
Yeah, I'm like, he was a beat. He was like Chet and Victor. That skinny. I was like, you put on some muscle, and he's just as crazy as this sounds, David. He's just putting in effort on both ends of the floor in a way that he wasn't. Maybe the physicality got to him and he couldn't do it early, but like it just looks like he's able to do things physically that he wasn't able to do even last season.
Well, when you have a better idea of what's going on, you can kind of lock in better. And a lot of these players, it's not for lack of willingness to be physical. It's just they're unaware until it's too late. And so I think he's seeing the game a little bit better, and that allows him really the courtesy of the privilege of investing more of his body. And I thought he looked fine the first game. We got a long way to go here. He was really bad last year.
It was.
But I think he's got a lot of talent. At one point, he was projected to be a top 10 guy. He didn't do so great at Stanford, but his shot looks good. He made some shots, but they look good, even his misses. Boy, it'd be nice if he could end up shooting. He's a tall, athletic wing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the position that everybody wants, right? The tall, athletic, that is the premium in this league. If you got that, and I'm not saying he's going to be one of those apex predator guys, but if he is just even a net neutral at that position this year, that's huge.
He needs to be a Mikal Bridges as soon as possible.
Yeah,
the old Mikal Bridges, the one that couldn't score a ton of points.
Defend and
that's
all
all they need. That's all they need. It's going to be hard in year 2, but that's what they need from him.
No, I'm with you. I was watching a lot of the Denver Nuggets young guys playing against the Suns, and these were guys I'm pretty sure you liked all of them that got drafted. Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, and Jalen Pickett. I think you liked all of them. No, you didn't.
I don't have an opinion on any of them.
Okay.
So I've heard good things about the Gonzaga kids, Julian Strawther, but And the Pickett,
Peyton,
what's his
Jalen Pickett.
Peyton? No, Jalen Pickett. He looked interesting in summer league just as a quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, Denver got Christian Brown only in the finals to look like he knew what he was
It's true.
doing, pretty
It's
much.
true.
Can those guys serve that similar role? Maybe, but remember, those guys he benefited, Christian did, from just being the healthiest guy in the room during the finals against an exhausted Miami Heat team,
Mm-hmm.
and he ran circles around them. I don't know if these guys have that kind of. I mean, Brown's an elite athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I think Denver's weak on the bench, and so they're going to
Mm.
get their chances. They're going to get their chances, and you like their chances of improving with that core that's in place, especially on Jokic. But it's no sure thing. Like it's a real. This is the challenge of the West: is that the more talented teams are going to have great depth, and the less talented teams, maybe the top, have more depth. So
So do
yeah,
you think and I should have started the show by saying this. Michael Malone's father, Brendan Malone, passed away.
yeah, pass away. Yeah.
One of the great basketball minds of all time. So yes, condolences to Michael Malone and his family. Do you think Malone, because coaches don't tend to, like, when rookies screw up, they put them on the bench. They're like, I can't have you guys lose this game. You have to lean on Reggie Jackson and those guys more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot of options, so it's either going to be lean on veterans I don't really love that much to begin with,
Right.
or give these guys a chance. And I think he's going to lean towards the latter.
Oh,
Because you
good.
can do both.
Yes.
You can play a little bit of both. The veterans will play some. I don't think Reggie Jackson expects to play a lot. They offer him $10 million. That's more than enough for 2 years. I think the young guys are going to get a lot of chances to learn and get better, and they're going to lose a bunch because a lot of these teams are going to lose 30 plus games
Yeah.
and still compete for a top 4 seed. It's going to be that tight in the West, I think.
And I think, as you always said, playing time is oxygen for these kids. And mistakes baked into the game, but that's how they learn. That's how they get reference points. So be patient while when Jokic gets off the floor, you're plus 10. By the time he comes back in, you might be down 5, right? It's just how it might work when they're there.
They have to develop an urgency. When early in my career, when I had players, one player in particular, we told he almost signed with Poland in Poland, and so the joke we always have is, get your head on straight, or you're going to be going to Poland, because that's what we said to him. We almost went there. He ended up going to France, but these guys need to play as if they don't have a guaranteed contract and really play with some urgency. Make mistakes, learn from them quickly, as opposed to, I'll figure it out. No. You need to have some urgency about it. And then they have a chance during the rotation come playoff time.
They also have the advantage of having the world's best player on their team, right? I mean, soak up as much knowledge from that dude as possible. Like, when he tells you, no, go where he tells you to go, right? Yeah. Like, whatever he says, you do that. Do that thing. Because he's right. He knows what's going to happen. And just soak it up and learn.
It's a coach on the floor that way. And he wants them to run their offense. He's a guy that likes to execute the plan. He's not just freewheeling. Right. So, definitely lucky. And not everyone's been lucky to play with LeBron. There's positive and negative to that. Jokic seemed like a better, easier teammate to play for. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No, 100%. So, down in Miami, Miami Heat fans are mad they didn't get Dame, but, all is not lost. It's still a very good team. They still got Spo, the best coach in the league. They have Tyler Herro. Jaime Jaquez, I like him. I think he's going to be.
Talk about Jaime too.
Yeah. I think he's going to be good. Now, when I say good, I don't necessarily mean a plus whatever EPM in his rookie year, but someone who seems to know where he's supposed to be on the floor, and has a maturity about his game. We'll see what that translates to, but I think he'll raise some eyebrows in a positive way. Yeah,
start with Tyler. He looked terrific. He's and I've been paying attention to Miami media. It's 4 hours away from me. He knows what people have been saying.
Yeah,
like that drove him. You could tell he looks fantastic. And I've talked to people on the team, stroking it, scoring everywhere, looks good physically. He looks great. Yeah, he's going to be really good. And Jaime, I mean, I have a philosophy: if you're the player of the year in your league, you're pretty fucking good. That's why I love Brandon Miller. SEC was no joke, and he was player of the year, and he was 18 years old the whole season, pretty much, maybe 19. Jaime Jaquez, player of the year in the Pac-12, not as good a league, but still pretty good. But UCLA was very good.
Very good.
He's been a good player for a couple of years. Miami's very high on him. And so if someone's going to lead, if a rookie is going to lead the EPM, A rookie is going to lead that group in EPM. Obviously, they're not all going to be fucking terrible.
Right.
He is a good candidate for that because he played
Mm.
4 years at high level college
Yep.
basketball. He'll have a pretty tight role, and I'm hearing really good things about him. And I told you they have the best backup center in the
Thomas
league in
Bryant.
Thomas Bryant,
Yep.
who's good enough to start. One day we'll go into his whole real story because I know it pretty well, but he just had 15 and 8 in his first game in 19 minutes.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it is playing with Tyler Herro in important parts of the game. Uh, and not that Charlotte's a good defensive team, but they definitely strive to be, and they had all their main players in. I think it was almost like a 3 straight possessions. Tyler Herro scored off a Thomas Bryant all screen. And because Bryant can really score, like I said, he had 15 in the game, went to the line 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he attracted defenders to him, and Tyler
Right.
Herro was like, all right, I guess I'll make the easy 4-footer. And you could just see Tyler Herro was like, oh, I can play with this guy.
Yeah.
And then we have to remember, he was like the best pick and roll player in the league last year for the Lakers. Thomas
Correct.
Bryant was
Yeah.
when AD was out.
Yep.
LeBron and a little Russell Westbrook murdered it with him. The Nuggets don't play the same way. The Jokic is their instigate guy, not their guards. Tyler Herro is a very good pick and roll player. So is Jimmy Butler, who
Mm-hmm.
did not play the 1st
Mm-hmm.
game. So I just think that Spoelstra said after the game, for you Miami fans, it's nice to have Bam on the bench and we can still score.
Well,
Yeah,
I was just gonna go there. This
Yeah.
saves Bam, right? Some miles and some wear and tear in his body, and again, it gives you an option. So in the postseason, you're like, let's run Tyler and Thomas Bryant pick and roll for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
See what happens here, and and you're not only you're able to maintain, we can increase our lead. Oh, we're doing well. So no, in Miami, look, heat culture, people make fun of it, joke, whatever. It's a real thing. They find players that fit their system. If you don't fit, you will not be there long. And I just, to your point, I like the point you made about Jaime, which is if there's going to be one player, it'll be him because he'll have a role. And that's so important, David, right, for young players, because your big thing when you teach them is how do you help your team win possessions? And I think when you have, as you mentioned, Victor and Chet, too much skill for their own good, right? So it's like, oh, they want to do them. No. Here's what I want you to do. Protect the rim or cover out the perimeter, race out, and get lob dunks, right? Give them 2 things to do. And if you master these 2 things, that's not going to do for the rest of your life. But for right now, do this will be great. And if you can get rookies to do that, which Miami will with Jaime, I think they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. Spo's the secret weapon. Not so secret.
The Raptors. So they're clearly going to go with Scottie Barnes as full-time point guard. They're going to learn, right? It's going to be a big learning curve for him, right? There are going to be some positives and negatives. That's just how the game works. What do you think, though, like in terms of that? Let me ask you this question. If that's the case, they're not going to be a high winning team, right? If that is the case.
It's a concern for sure. Dennis Schroeder isn't really a true quarterback. I don't think Scottie is. I don't love him as a pure point guard. I like him as a good playmaking facilitator, but not the main guy. It's going to be a work in progress, I think. Yeah. And they're a good team. They actually are pretty good. And so they're going to lose some games they probably wouldn't otherwise. But I think they feel like it's going to be the best thing for us going forward. Let's really find out all the things Scottie can do. That's my guess is what their read is.
Because he's an elite athlete. He can, right? He's 6'9" or whatever he is. He's super athletic, long, right? He can guard. He can shoot a little. He can, I think, but to that point, right? Is he too toolsy? And it's like, let's master these things, right? And then, but now making him point guard, he's got to use all the tools now, right? So it's sink or swim.
It's really hard to balance scoring and passing and running the team. And when do I get OG the ball? When do I get Pascal the ball? When should I take it? It's a lot of more stress for a 3rd-year player that's trying to play for a max extension.
That's right. Yeah. That'll be very interesting to see. How well does he do with that, knowing that it's extension time around the corner and he'll want a max? Well, it'll be curious to see, guys. Stay tuned because there'll be some great preseason. God, I'm already in playoff mode. Preseason basketball today on Friday and the rest of the weekend, and we'll talk about it on Monday. Take care.